Issue 12 and 13 of Combat Patrol. Guess who's back? The Terminators. Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games, and today we're going to be looking at issues 12 and 13 of the Hachette collection Combat Patrol. Now we're looking at two issues because over these two issues you get one section of Terminators. Now this is what you would get in issue 12 and this is what you would get in issue 13, and I have the assembled minis here that I'll show you all in a moment. So issue 12 and 13 seems a bit, to be honest with you, mean, because they've split up two sprues and a load of bases into two issues when it would easily have fit into one. Now I know that the issue 12 and issue 13 is going to be a very popular one for people to collect because Terminators are exceptional troops and slightly more expensive minis, so possibly one of the reasons is why they split it up into two issues, but nevertheless they put it into two issues when it could have fit into one, so I'm just going to say that. Issue 12 has the how to build guide for the Terminator squad. So as you can see, you'll get 5 minis out of it, and they take a little, they're still push fit, but they do take a little bit more assembling than you're normally used to. It touches on the tactical doctrine. So there's three different doctrines that Space Marines would have. There's the Devastator doctrine, which kind of focuses on range. There is the Assault doctrine, which is getting up and close and kind of beating them with things, and the Tactical doctrine, which is the more flexible one, so they will fall back in kind of overlapping fields of fire or hit where they have to. So this is the more mobile, flexible one, whereas the Assault doctrine is the one where they go in and basically hit them with their chainswords, as you can see here with an image of what was Captain and now is Lieutenant Titus from the Space Marine computer game. You see some of the actual weapons here as well. So we have, of course, the bolt rifle, which is the standard issue. You have the storm bolter, which is essentially the standard issue for the Terminators, and the assault bolter, which has a much higher rate of fire and is deployed at extreme close range by units of interceptors intercepting or descending from orbit. So those would be the three kind of mainstays of the different types of Space Marines. So you got your standard Space Marine, your Terminator, and you've got your Inceptors here. Now the Assault doctrine, as I said, is kind of up close and personal, so you can see here you got the buggies, you've got the jump jets, and you've got the bikes, so they're in there to get into your face as fast as possible. And these guys would have things like the chainsword, the power fist, the power sword, which is great for armor, the plasma pistol, which is great for it's a kind of a heavy ordnance weapon, and the bolt pistol, which would be the standard issue. So most fellas would have a bolt pistol and a chainsword going into the battles. You have, of course, here the battle shock tests, so it's more kind of the teaching scenarios. And scenario 8, of course, is called Hold or Die, where you get to kind of try the different doctrines that it's been teaching you about. So that was issue 12. Issue 13 so comes in with the paint guide. So issue 12 had the instructions and how to assemble. Issue 13 shows you how to kind of paint it with the paints you have so far. So again, of course, it also shows you how to use the little teleporter. Again, you should have a few paints in your collection at this stage, so you'll be able to kind of bring out at least the very basic colors for your Terminators if you're sticking with the paint collection paint plan in this series. It has a nice little bit of lore here on creating a Space Marine and what goes into it, selecting candidates, things like that, so they only take the best of 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 the best that survive. Of course, the Astartes, as they're called, have a superhuman physiology. So not only do they go through all the trials, then they're kind of operated on remorselessly to have things like secondary lungs, backup hearts, second skins, a whole load of weird things that kind of put them in so that they're very nearly impossible to poison or kill or stop outright. And of course, most guys would serve as Space Marine scouts before they're kind of promoted to full battle brother. So you can see here there's a scout in training that will eventually become a Dark Templar battle brother. You have here, of course, Bonds of Honor, which is the third part of the stories. And you have here the stats of the actual Terminator squad itself. So you, of course, here a little bit of history if you want to roll the dice, and a unit name. And you have the data sheet. So as you can see, they're fairly tough hombres with a saving roll of 2+ and a 4+ in vulnerable save. You have special rules with leaders, things like that, so you can actually leader to a certain Terminator squad, kind of boost them up a little bit. Unstoppable Valor and Stealth, other things. And you have here Scenario 9, which is called the Burden of Command, in which you use the leaders with the Terminators to try and take on all the hordes of the Tyranids. So let's have a look at the actual sprues. Now the sprues, again, there was only 2 of them, and I have seen them fit huge terrain pieces into these magazines, so it was a bit mean of them to kind of just put it over 2 issues. But again, the Terminators would be one of the most highly sought after and bought issues, so I can kind of see for financial reasons why they would do it as well to maximize their sales. But these are all relatively new sprues, and as you can see here, there is fantastic detail on them. And the nice thing about this is that they can be any Space Marine Terminator chapter that you like. I personally am half thinking of turning these guys into a section of Blood Ravens, as I already have plenty of Ultramarine Terminators. So of course you can see here the Assault Cannon, which is part and parcel of the Devastator Doctrine. You have here the Transport Icon, and you have the Power Sword. And again, you know, lots of beautiful little pieces here, and you can see that they have fairly large bases. But let's look at the actual minis painted and assembled. So you will get 5 minis out of it, and these are the guys from the Leviathan box set. So we'll start with the section leader. So this is generally a sergeant, or sometimes a lieutenant. I think a lieutenant because he's got a stripe on his head. But they are, of course, beautiful minis, really chunky fellas, and you can kind of go into an awful lot of detail with them. So they're huge, they're cumbersome, but again, really, really tough. They're famous as well in a board game called Space Hulk, in which it's all Terminators up against Gene Stealers, and the Gene Stealers are so tough that they're tearing through this armor like butter. But if you're anything but a Gene Stealer, this armor is actually tough enough. It's akin to a walking tank like that. These guys, again, like I said, they have a 2-up save and a 4-up invulnerability save. So just, again, beautiful detail. These are fantastic new cast kind of Terminators, and they look class. So that was the section leader. You have here a guy with a Power Fist, and you have a kind of the standard issue bolter here. So again, he's just one of the lads, as you can see from just his white helmet. Of course, I made all my lads to be Ultramarines, and I took these transfers from the Leviathan box set. Now the transfers are not included, unfortunately, in the magazine series. However, that does give you the freedom to paint them into whatever you would like to make. And I think I already said that I might make my lads into Blood Ravens, which have kind of a hand-painted kind of pauldron anyway. So fortunately, I myself won't need the actual transfers. So we have here, this guy would obviously be a big fan of the Devastator Doctrine, in the sense that he's a big, huge Vulcan cannon here that is just going to mow down anything that looks at him wrong. But again, very cool, very action kind of posed minis. Huge lads, and I think he also has a Power Fist, because you can see here from the section leader, that's the standard fist, and this is the Power Fist. So if anything does somehow gets through all the huge massive bales of fire, he'll just clock him with a left and put him out of commission. We have here another Terminator, again with a Storm Bolter, and again a Power Fist. But you know, just beautiful looking minis on the actual tabletop. They really stand out. And of course, the last fella here is just another fella with a Storm Bolter. Now I'll be back in one moment. Now I'm back, and of course the bit I had forgot to bring from my collection was the actual little transport hub here. I had left this behind, so the poor lads would have had to kind of thumb a lift here or hump it all the way, because I forgot their main mode of transport, which is this little item. So again, they're really cool minis. They're larger than Space Marines, and because they're so powerful, they tend to only come in kind of a section group of 5, but you know, just beautiful minis. They came out fresh and new with the Leviathan box set, and were one of the things people were really looking forward to. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you get in issues 12 and 13 of Combat Patrol. As always, if you like these videos, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and until next time, this is Sean, signing off.